Hey, everybody, good day. Welcome to another edition of Tigers Daily in partnership with the Fan Arch Network. Happy trade deadline day, the beginning of the week, Monday, August the 3rd, 2026. Before we get started, again, would love to invite those of you that have not already done so to subscribe to our channel here on Tigers Daily. We have all the updates, the good, the bad, everything in between, the latest rumors, so many trade rumors swirling around there. We talk about the games from the day before and take a look ahead at what's up in store for the Tigers. And for those of you that have subscribed and those of you that have taken part, especially in the last couple of days, wow, the tremendous feedback, the comments, the views. Thank you so much. This makes it so much fun for me. I'm just a Tigers fan talking with you, Tigers fans, as well. So if you haven't subscribed, please do. And if not, just take a listen and see what you think. Thank you for jumping aboard here on Tigers Daily. All right, so first thing I thought of last night was, Tarek who? Do we really need him? All kidding aside, what a weekend for the Tigers on the diamond, and yes, off the diamond as well. Still the fallout from the Tarek Skubal trade to the Dodgers. The inevitable trade was completed. You know, obviously, if you've been living under a rock and you haven't followed anything or whatever, Skubal traded to the Dodgers for 3 prospects, one which will more than likely be called up here within the next couple of weeks. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But back to the game yesterday, the Tigers complete the sweep of the Athletics in Sacramento. And they won yesterday, of course, 11-0. Kiter Montero tried to make you forget about Tarek Skubal. 6 innings, shutout ball. He's back after that rough outing he had earlier last week. He looked fantastic. Now, I know it's just the Athletics, but hey, it's a road game. They're looking for a series sweep. The A's, if they had any heart, would have tried to maybe keep it competitive, but Montero wouldn't let him do it. The Tigers got a couple of runs in the opening inning. Left some runners on base. They could have blew it open then, but they got 4 runs in the 4th inning. That kind of blew it open there, 6-0. Then they added more towards the end. The Tiger bats continue to hum. If you look back to the previous 5 games for the Tigers, 55 runs they've scored, and then throw in the 5 runs in the opener against the Orioles last Monday. 60 runs in their last 6 games. Absolutely incredible offensive output for the Tigers. Now, again, the question's going to be, can they keep it up? That's the $100 million question. So, but anyways, they get a day to rest before they head up to Seattle to take on the Mariners. The Mariners just ahead of them in the standings. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the broadcast. So the Tigers complete the sweep. 3 games that they had to have. They're now 54-58. We'll go over the standings a little bit later on, like I mentioned, and something they had to do. That was to keep up pace and try to stay along in the wild card chase and the division, for that matter, in the American League. A very, very pathetic American League. So the Tigers get the win. Altman even got a home run. He joined the hit parade. One wonders if he's going to stick around for the remainder of the campaign. Who knows? I mean, they got hits from everybody. Riley Green got the day off as well, so his bat needed a rest. I think he's got to figure something out. A lot of those swings and misses, a lot of folks in the comments are not real thrilled with. But anyways, a big win for the Tigers the day after the big trade for Tarek Skubal. He's, again, a member of the Dodgers now. I know they had to burn in the craw of a lot of people. It kind of did me a little bit when you saw him in Dodger blue last night, shaking hands with Dave Roberts. But, hey, you know what? What else is he supposed to do when he shows up at the stadium? So going to be very interesting. We'll see if Roberts has the chutzpah to put him in the lineup when the Tigers play the Dodgers at Comerica Park in the end of August 28th, 29th, and 30th. So we'll talk more about that in the coming days leading up to that crazy weekend, which could probably mean a lot for the Tigers as they're knee-deep in the playoff chase, that's for sure. All right, we mentioned the trade, the Tigers and the Dodgers getting in return for them Zaire Hope, River Ryan, and Brady Smith. Well, River Ryan is going to – he got optioned to Toledo. He's still recovering from his hamstring pull, slight hamstring injury. It sounds like he's going to go probably for a rehab start before he probably gets called up to the Tigers. Now, again, I'm going to look at this trade two ways. Yeah, I'm disappointed that Skubal got dealt. I would have loved to see him stay in the Old English D for the rest of the year and help Detroit get a playoff push. But I understand why they did it. We talked about it ad nauseum the last couple of days and yesterday, of course. And I'm going to take this I'm just going to take this approach. And maybe I'm wrong. He's gone. He's not a Tiger anymore. I'm not going to dwell on it as much. Again, yeah, I would love to have seen him here, but I understand why they did it. I understand the reasons. I personally don't think he was going to re-sign with Detroit. And, Detroit would have got nothing but a compensatory, probably fourth-round draft pick. And then I'd have been more upset with that down the road. He's not here anymore. So now we got to take the pieces and move on. Detroit's in a playoff race. You could say, yeah, if he was here, we'd have better chance. Well, sure. Ifs and buts are candy and nuts. I get it. So I'm moving on. You have to. You can't dwell on it. It's over. So now we're going to take a look at River Ryan. Now, I believe he's got a chance to make some noise with the Tigers this year. I love his fastball. Touches 100. I think he's got the makings to be a good contributor for the Tigers. When he gets here, that's going to be the question. More than likely, it'll be next week, potentially the end of next week. So keep an eye on that, but I think he's going to help contribute for the Tigers in the playoff drive. Now, Zahir Hope, this is one that I can't wait to see with the Old English D up in Detroit. He got optioned to Double-A Erie right now, but he's got a lot of comparisons, maybe with the power in the batting average for when Riley Green was at Double-A. Their numbers are very similar. Hopefully he doesn't strike out as much as Riley Green does. Maybe they can kind of tamper down that if that's the case. But he's got 23 home runs, batting about .290. I think he's going to be a welcome addition to the Tiger outfield coming up next year. I salivate. Now, I know that's you don't want to hear about next year. I get it. But who knows? He could be a September call-up. Get him some playing time. Get him a taste of the major leagues. I think Detroit's got a good abundance of minor league outfielders and second basemen, which lends to maybe what we'll talk about in a moment. Maybe there's something left before the trade deadline at 6 o'clock. So we'll keep an eye on that as well. And Brady Smith, he's going to be at West Michigan. Now, I think I told everybody, I saw him pitch against Lansing when he was with the Great Lakes Loons, the Dodgers single-A affiliate here in Michigan. I watched him in person about 10 days ago. It was so funny again, I was talking with my brother-in-law, with my wife, and my brother and my sister-in-law. I said, careful, guys. One of these guys could be in a Tiger uniform in a couple of years. We could be trading for him. And lo and behold, Smith got the call. He's a strikeout pitcher, 104 strikeouts in 65 innings. Obviously, he would be a bonus down the road if he gets the call up to Detroit. That's years away, at least a couple of years away. But I'm banking on River Ryan. I'm going to look at the positive. I honestly think that he would have been up with the Dodgers. They're so rich in starting pitching that I think there was just a numbers game with him. He recovered from his Tommy John surgery. I mean, nowadays that's not as big of a deal as it was 20 years ago. So, yes, I'm going to take this trade and I'm going to look at it with the glass half full. We've got a chance to still make the playoffs. And I'm going to take it with this point of view too. I would love to see the Tigers make a run. Obviously, anybody wants to see them win the World Series. But I think it would be extra sweet if the Tigers would make a deep run in the playoffs. I know it still might be a pipe dream, and I know what all the national pundits are saying. Detroit got fleeced. I don't buy it. I don't think they got fleeced. It was an inevitable trade, and I think they did pretty good. I think it's going to work out good in the end. But again, that's me. I'm an optimist. So again, that's a look at what they've got coming up as far as where the roster updates are with Hope, with Ryan, and with Smith. Jackson Jobe, by the way, had his last rehab start for the Tigers. 1 earned run in 5 innings. He looked pretty good. Now the question is, when does he get brought up? If you look at the schedule, there's an opening on Thursday for the Tigers. Casey Mize, as of right now, is scheduled to pitch tomorrow night against the Mariners in the opener of the 3-game set. So we'll keep an eye on that. If Jobe's not ready, chances are Thursday could be a bullpen game for the Tigers. But that spot is open right now. Obviously, the trade deadline is still 6 o'clock tonight, so who knows what's going to happen with the Tigers. But As of right now, I could see Joe. I don't know if Job's quite ready to get the call up to pitch Thursday against the Mariners, but it kind of looks like he'll be pitching when they get back for their homestand against the White Sox and the Guardians next week. So those are the main roster updates right now for the Tigers as we get set for this week, the post-trade deadline run for the Tigers. All right, we talked about it. The trade deadline, 6 o'clock Eastern time today. What's going to happen in Detroit? All the rumors are swirling. What's going to happen elsewhere in Major League Baseball? Freddie Peralta got traded to the Rays. A little bit surprised there. The Brewers, what are they going to do? I know they've been looking for a second starter. What does this do for the value of Casey Mize? Who is going to go after Casey Mize? What can they get in return? Are the Tigers really looking at Mize? Did they strategically hold him on Friday so they could pitch him Tuesday to start off the series against Seattle? So many questions waited to be answered. Now, Detroit also has got some stockpile in the infield, a stockpile of players in the infield. Is Gleyber Torres on the block? Will the Tigers try to move him for some relief help? Waits to be seen. So many questions. Will they use some of the folks in the minor leagues? Bisbee or Bigby, I beg your pardon. I don't want to see him get rid of Anderson, but could they package a couple of their minor leaguers, some of their prospects, to maybe go after a reliever that's in the market right now? I know Mason Miller, everybody wants him, the reliever for the Padres. Are they really going to trade him? What would Detroit have left to offer for somebody like that? So many questions left to be answered as far as the Tigers go at the trade deadline. So, again, it's less than 24 hours, 6 o'clock Eastern time today. We're going to go tomorrow on the show. We'll go over everything, all the big names that were traded in Major League Baseball, not just with the Tigers. And we'll get a feel for what was gotten by the people that were buyers and what was gotten for the people that were sellers, the teams. So very interesting, one of the more interesting trade deadlines, at least obviously here in Detroit. And here's my last question as far as the trade deadline goes. Is it overblown? Is it overrated? Are there going to be any big trades this afternoon? It's going to be busy on MLB Network, that's for sure, at the 6 o'clock deadline. So obviously going to keep an eye on that this afternoon. It's going to be so crazy. My phone will be blowing up, just like Saturday night. Full disclosure, I fell asleep watching the Tigers game after Clark hit that home run. I didn't think they were going to do anything with Skubal at midnight on Saturday night. I don't know about you. So, I'll be glued to it this afternoon. I'm probably going to sneak out, try to get some golf in, but I'm going to be glued to the TV set this afternoon at 6 o'clock to see what happens. And, of course, I'm sure my phone will be blowing up. So it's a crazy time of year with the trade deadline. But the question here in Detroit, who's going to get moved? Are we going to see any other moves of major significance? Is Jensen going to get moved? Is Torres going to get moved? And the big question, what about Casey Mize? Can't wait to find out this afternoon. And then Detroit can put it to rest. And like I said earlier, focus on what's ahead. And that's the fight to get to the playoffs. Detroit's right there. They're only 2.5 games out of a wild card, 5.5 out of the division. So, all right, and finally, let's transition over that. Let's take a look at that right now, shall we? Let's look at this. First of all, let's look at the Major League standings Monday, August the 3rd. Tampa Bay. Now they've got a 3.5 game lead or 2.5 game lead over the Yankees. Watch out for the Boston Red Sox. They're now just 5 games out of first place. They're really making a run right now. They've won 5 straight, starting another win streak. They're 9 games over 500. 6 weeks ago, would you have thought that with the Red Sox? They were dead in the water. In the Central Division, the White Sox now, in our division, they've opened up a 3-game lead over the Guardians, 4 over the Twins, 5.5 over the Tigers. And in the West, Houston. They're the hottest team in baseball right now. They've won 6 straight, 9-1 in their last 10. They now have a 2.5 game lead over the Rangers. Houston right now 58-55 with a 2.5 game lead. That's absolutely insane. The other teams below 500. And quickly in the National League, the Braves, their lead is 8 games over the Phillies as they've won 5 straight. Are they going to be players at the deadline? Are they going to try to go after a guy like Casey Mize? Then you've got the Marlins trying to get back in the playoff push. They're 3.5 games, or they're 9.5 games out of first. In the Central, The Brewers, their lead is 6.5 games over the Cubs, 14 over the Pirates. And finally, the Dodgers, they still have a 10-game lead over the Diamondbacks. The Padres, they've won 3 straight now. They're 11 back. And in the wild card, again, we talked about it. In the American League, the Guardians, they hold the last playoff spot, that third wild card. They've got a game lead over the Twins, a game and a half over the Rangers, 2 over the Mariners, and 2.5 over the Tigers and the Orioles. So, again, still the Tigers have 5 teams they got to jump over to get to that final spot, but they're all jumbled together here with 50 games to go in the regular season, that being for the Tigers at 54 and 58. All right, we talked about it. We've talked about it all weekend, and I asked you guys earlier in the comments, and we've gotten a few of the comments back. What would it take for the Tigers to get into the playoffs? Now, I mentioned it. I thought 85 and 77. That's going to be the benchmark for the Tigers. And that would put them, right now, they would have to go 31 and 19 to get to 85 wins. They're at 54 and 58. 83 and 79 might do it. It might do it. So if they do that, then they'd have to go 29 and 21. So the way it's going in the American League, who knows? But now, again, Cleveland's got that last playoff spot, and they're 1 game over 500. I think 85 and 77 will get the Tigers into the playoffs, and who knows? That might even win the Central Division. So those are the main numbers to keep an eye on right now for the Tigers. 85 and 77, I think, will be the benchmark to get into the playoffs in the American League. And like I said, at 54 and 58, Detroit would have to go 31 and 19 to get in. All right, here's something I want to talk about before we get to the viewer comments. And, you know, obviously with what happened over the weekend with the trade, the Dodgers again with the embarrassment of riches. And, you know, technically they're not breaking the rules. And why not? You know, if they've got the ability to do it, why not do it? And I think, first of all, I think what this is going to do is solidify the owner's position on a salary cap at the end of the year for 2027. And I personally think for those of us that enjoy baseball the way they do, we better watch as much of it as we can. But because I don't think we're going to get a start of the season on time next year. And again, this trade is part of the reason why. Now, I don't begrudge the Dodgers. You know, not only do they have the embarrassment of riches, they've got all this money, the Guggenheim money. I get it. But they've also got such an excellent scouting department where they're able to get rid of these prospects to get a guy like Skubal. So, I mean, yeah, they're not breaking the rules. I don't like it, and I know a lot of people in baseball don't like it. Yeah, I'm jealous. I'm going to agree with it. I don't like it. But they're not doing anything illegal, so they're going to do it until the rules change, until if and when we do get a salary cap, which there's going to be a change. There has to be, because these the lower market ball clubs like the Pittsburghs, the Tampa Bays, the Kansas Cities, whatever, you know, they don't get the TV revenue that the Dodgers get, the Yankees get. So we could talk more about that, and obviously we will talk more about what's going to happen with the CBA negotiations later on. But I saw this morning, and I thought, the Dodgers, and I looked at this, the Dodgers, now they're not deferring anything to Skubal. Let's say they try to sign him. Right now, the Dodgers have $1.1 billion in deferred money to players. Shohei Ohtani, they're going to be paying until 2043. Mookie Betts till 2044. Blake Snell until 2046. Freddie Freeman until 2040, Will Smith until 2043, and Kyle Tucker until 2045. That's just a few of them. Tommy Edman, 2044. Toscar Hernandez, 2039. Tanner Scott, 2039. Edwin Diaz until 2047. Now, again, this is a great setup for the ball players. Ask Bobby Bonilla. You know, I mean, he's still getting paid. That's 10 players that they've got deferred payments averaging over $100 million apiece. I mean, it's more than that. $1.1 billion in deferred money. Something's got to change. That I think you're going to have to see something like that change. Although other teams could do it, I get it. But that's just another thing. That's mind-boggling to me about how much money the Dodgers have to play with and how they can defer the money. Now, morally, is it right? Who knows? I'm not going to say anything there. Again, they're not breaking the rules, and that's the important thing. All right, lastly, let's go. I got to say, definitely floored this weekend. I owe everybody here such a huge thank you. All the comments that we got, over the weekend. Obviously, the trade has just sparked everything. I wish I could go through all the comments. 99 comments here in the comment section. And you guys outdid yourselves, and I say thank you. This has been an absolute blast. It was so much fun yesterday, last night, and this morning reading all these comments. I wish I could go through all of them, and I would do it disservice. And I'm just going to pick a few of them out of here. Brew Time Matters, 73.95. Wish Finnegan was traded. Gonna miss Skubal. He was a great Tiger. And Cool Cat, 6303. They replied, Finnegan is just downright awful. Can't even get through one inning without giving up 3 runs. Heck, he can barely get an out. And remember, unfortunately, we're on the hook with Finnegan next year for $9.5 million. We'll see if the Tigers do something where they just outright release him. I don't think they will, but that might be something they think about down the road. Mako Dakota, 84 wins he thinks will get the Tigers in. Well, that could be too. 84 wins, that magic number that ended up winning the St. Louis Cardinals the World Series 20 years ago. But we won't talk about that anymore, will we? And obviously 3-1-3 Michigan we didn't get enough for Skubal. And Dennis in 1919 said you guys didn't get near enough. Might be right. Again, I hate to use this old cliche. Only time will tell. And yes, I wanted more. Like I said at the beginning, I wanted more, but we didn't get more. I'm going to try not to dwell on it. I'm not going to be I told you so type of guy. And that's fine if you are. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just not my shtick. I'm going to try to look at it from here on out. He's not a Tiger anymore. Can't dwell on it. And if the Tiger's in the clubhouse, they've got to use that mentality as well. Let's look at Tiger Dave 21. I can't say this is a bad trade. Skubal was not going to resign here, so all we were going to get was a compensation draft pick, and he's right. Probably would have been a 4th-round draft pick if he would have walked at the end of the year. And again, I know ifs and buts. I get it. And so I don't know. That's just my feeling. And Jonas Stark, 2212, fleeced. I've got some friends. Doug, I know you're one of them. They got fleeced, in your opinion. And I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not saying you're wrong. And so I don't know. It's so many thoughts here. I wish I could go through all of them. Again, great to see Ricky Kalinsky checking in, saying hi. He said, can they potentially trade Mize and Gas Can for some bullpen help? He's the one that gave Kenley Jansen the nickname Gas Can. I love it. How many of you were nervous when Jansen was in the other night? And I want to go back to, again, he was all, pissing and moaning about that bunt. That was smart play. I got nothing. I have no problem with that suicide squeeze. It ended up putting the tying run at the plate. If Jensen wants to be upset about it, strike the guy out. There's one way to look at that too with Jensen. Maybe he's got a fire under his ass. Maybe that'll help. Maybe that'll help him pitch better. Because I'll tell you what, whenever old Gas Can comes out there, you just got to hold your breath and watch it with one eye, or kind of peek through your fingers like this, right? So those are just some of the comments again. And again, so appreciate everybody taking a part. The viewership over the weekend, record-breaking for Tigers Daily, and I can't thank you enough. This makes it so much fun. Can't wait to come on here every day and do this. And so, it's all part of baseball. We are the fans, and we are entitled to our comments. And, it's, again, I just love the banner back and forth. Just adds an extra element of fun watching the Tigers. And, again, it could be different. I would rather be in this position arguing about maybe Skubal bringing us, or maybe not bringing the Tigers back to the playoffs, or sitting in a position where we're 20 games under 500 and 20 games out of first place, or 20 games out of a wild card. So this is better than that. And again, I'm just trying to look at it with the glass half full. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Tigers Daily. We'll see you tomorrow. We'll go through all the trades, not just the Tiger trades, everything that went on in Major League Baseball. We'll take a look at all of them tomorrow, and that should be a lot of fun. And we'll preview the upcoming 3-game set tomorrow with the Tigers against the Mariners, and we'll see how far the Tigers are out of wild card and first place in their division. Until next time, Captain Lou saying keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. So long.